At 3:42 local time, just off the coast of Sardinia, the Mediterranean seats under a darkness so deep it looks almost solid. Above the water, a US Navy P-8 Poseidon moves through the cold pre-dawn haze, quietly tracking the Russian-linked shadow tanker Yaz as it drifts across one of the most sensitive stretches of sea in Europe. At first, nothing looks unusual. The aircraft's crew sees a rusty civilian tanker, slow-moving, silent, and seemingly harmless. But then, without warning, the Poseidon's sensor picture breaks apart. A sharp electronic disturbance rips across the displays, scattering data and forcing the operators to recheck everything they thought they knew. The Yaz is not where it claims to be. On public tracking systems, the tanker is broadcasting a false position more than 140 miles away, somewhere near Tunisia. But in reality, it is sitting dangerously close to a critical underwater communications route, one of the main digital highways carrying nearly 40% of Europe's internet traffic. And then the situation becomes even more serious. Out of the haze, a Russian intelligence vessel appears, activating a powerful electronic shield designed to confuse and distort Allied sensors. At the same time, underwater monitors pick up mechanical movements from a hidden Kilo-class submarine operating beneath the same fiber optic route. In one moment, the US Navy is placed inside a near-impossible tactical puzzle. If the Allies respond too aggressively, Moscow can claim the West endangered a civilian ship and escalated the incident without proof. But if NATO does nothing, Europe's digital backbone could be compromised before sunrise. So the question becomes simple but terrifying. How does Washington stop a gray zone operation without creating the very crisis Moscow wants? By 4:10, the Mediterranean is no longer just a dark, quiet sea. It has become a high-definition theater of Allied coordination. While civilian trackers are still following the Yaz's fake digital trail near Tunisia, NATO's real-world network is already closing in with incredible precision. A P-8 Poseidon launches from Naval Air Station Sigonella, moving fast into the target area. At the same time, the Italian Navy's advanced frigate Virginio Fasan is directed into position, taking the role of local shield while the American aircraft becomes the eyes in the sky. This is not a simple patrol. This is a full system working as one. The American Poseidon feeds high-altitude surveillance, satellite data, and maritime intelligence into the network. The Italians bring local knowledge, surface presence, and access to seabed listening systems designed to pick out even the smallest mechanical signature beneath the waves. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard the Fasan, American and Italian data streams merge through Link 16. Every vibration from the Yaz's aging engine, every uneven turn of its propeller, every strange acoustic ripple in the water is isolated, studied, and compared against known patterns. The tanker might look like an old commercial vessel, but to NATO's sensors, it is becoming a fingerprint. To maintain surprise, the US Navy guides the Italian frigate through a narrow approach corridor designed to remain hidden from the Yaz's outdated bridge sensors. Analysts study the tanker's radar refresh cycle, then calculate the exact blind spot where the Fasan can move without being noticed. It is like stepping into a dark room and standing behind someone before they even realize the door opened. Moscow believes it is conducting a secret operation. But in reality, the operation is already under observation from every angle. As the Virginio Fasan moves within 5 miles of the Yaz, the acoustic picture suddenly changes. Analysts detect something strange in the water. The tanker is not only hiding its true location, it is dragging a submerged sonar device that is broadcasting the acoustic signature of an American Los Angeles-class submarine. It is a carefully designed trap. Moscow is trying to make NATO question what it is seeing and hearing. The goal is to create confusion, delay the response, and make the Allies hesitate out of concern that they may be tracking one of their own submarines. That delay is all the Yaz would need. If NATO pauses for even a few minutes, the tanker could complete its mission near the underwater cable route and leave before the full picture becomes clear. But then at 0430, the situation changes again. The Russian intelligence vessel begins a more advanced electronic operation. It does not simply jam NATO's sensors, it attempts to manipulate them. The ship begins capturing data bursts between the Poseidon and the USS Carney, then retransmitting them with a tiny delay. Suddenly, Allied displays show the Yaz in multiple locations at once. One icon places the tanker near its real position. Another shows it miles away. A third appears almost like a digital echo, moving just enough to confuse the tactical picture. This is not just interference, it is an attempt to make the US Navy doubt its own network. Above the water, Moscow creates a digital hall of mirrors. Below the water, the hidden submarine begins its own quiet maneuver. The Kilo-class submarine slides into the Yaz's acoustic wake, positioning itself so close beneath the tanker that its signature blends with the ship's worn-out machinery. Its propeller speed matches the rhythm of the tanker's engine noise, helping it disappear inside the larger vessel's sound profile. To ordinary sensors, there is only one noisy old tanker. But hidden beneath it is the real pressure point of the operation. Moscow is betting that NATO will not risk any direct action against a civilian-looking ship, especially when the true military asset is using that ship as cover. But the US Navy does not follow the expected script. Instead of trying to overpower the Russian electronic interference, the Allies shift deeper, beneath the confusion, beneath the surface noise, beneath the tanker itself. That is where the USS Montana, a Virginia-class attack submarine, enters the picture. The Montana does not chase loud sounds. It studies the water around them. It looks for the tiny physical effects that cannot be fully hidden, even by careful timing and advanced deception. When the Kilo tries to match the Yaz's engine rhythm, it still changes the pressure and movement of the water around its hull. The difference is almost invisible, a small anomaly buried inside a noisy acoustic environment. But Montana's onboard analysis flags it. The number is tiny, the meaning is enormous. There is another hull under the tanker. The Montana moves into position beneath the Russian submarine, creating a three-layer stack in the dark water. The Yaz on the surface, the Kilo hiding below it, and the American submarine quietly holding the lowest position. Moscow thought it was hiding in the tanker's shadow. Instead, it had been watched from underneath. The Montana's captain chooses a response that sends a message without crossing the line into open confrontation. No explosive force, no dramatic strike, no visible flash above the water. Instead, the submarine releases a powerful active sonar pulse. The signal hits the hidden submarine's hull like a giant acoustic warning. Inside the Kilo, equipment vibrates, loose objects rattle, and the crew instantly understands the message. You have been found. The psychological effect is immediate. The Russian crew realizes they were never alone in the dark. While they were focused on hiding beneath the tanker, an American submarine had already moved beneath them and gained the stronger position. At that moment, the balance of the entire encounter changes. Moscow's plan depended on confusion. The US Navy answered with clarity. At 0530, the operation shifts from the surface and the digital battlespace down to the seafloor. While Russian commanders are still trying to manage the electronic confusion above, their deeper objective begins to unfold. From beneath the intelligence vessel, a specialized underwater device is released into the darkness. Its mission is not loud or dramatic, it is surgical. The device is designed to attach itself to the fiber optic route and quietly extract sensitive data moving through Europe's digital infrastructure. This is the real purpose of the operation, not a chase, not a show of force, not a simple maritime provocation, a silent attempt to reach into the nervous system of the West. 200 meters below the surface, in freezing darkness, Moscow believes it has found the perfect place to work unseen. But the Allies have already turned the seabed into a monitored battle space. US Navy autonomous underwater systems and multi-static sonar create a live 3D image of the device. That data is passed to Italian Comsuban special forces who approach in near-total darkness from a quiet mini-sub. Their mission is not to fight. Their mission is to remove the device without damaging the cable. The margin for error is almost non-existent. One wrong movement could harm the fiber optic route. One careless vibration could turn a secret operation into a continental communications emergency. The divers are working in a world where millimeters matter and where the stakes are measured not in one ship or one patrol, but in the stability of Europe's digital infrastructure. They do not use bright lights. That would risk alerting sensors from the Russian vessel above. Instead, they are guided by ultrasonic mapping and a real-time data feed from the US Navy's monitoring network. In the darkness, the divers see through sound. They move carefully around the device, studying its clamps, its wiring, and its internal safeguards. The US Navy's analysis system predicts the likely sequence of hidden triggers, giving the divers the safest order of operations. Step by step, the device is isolated. Then it is separated from the cable. Then it is secured. What Moscow intended as a covert collection tool becomes something far more valuable for NATO. Evidence, intelligence, and a complete technical look at the method being used. The operation has not just failed, it has exposed itself. The Kremlin came looking for a hidden door into Europe's digital infrastructure, only to discover that NATO had already placed cameras inside the room. By 600, the standoff reaches its most visible moment. The USS Carney closes distance with the Yaz and executes a bold maneuver across the tanker's path. The American destroyer passes extremely close, using its size, wake, and position to force the Yaz to understand that the time for deception is over. No shots are needed. No dramatic escalation is required. The sea itself becomes the message. The Carney's wake rolls hard across the tanker's bow, forcing the crew aboard the Yaz to react as the vessel rocks under the pressure of the passing destroyer. The American ship does not need to shout. Its position says everything. Then the captain activates the long-range acoustic device. A focused beam of sound reaches the tanker's bridge, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a controlled, non-lethal warning designed to break the crew's confidence and force attention back to the International Guard frequency. Through the static, the message comes clearly. These waters are not for ghosts. Turn around now or prepare to be escorted for inspection. For the crew of the Yaz, there is no confusion left. Their false position has been exposed, their underwater device has been removed, their submarine cover has been identified, their electronic deception has been mapped and countered. Every layer of the operation has been taken apart. And the most important part is this. The Allies did it without giving Moscow the larger confrontation it was looking for. The USS Carney does not need to launch anything. The Poseidon does not need to broadcast threats. The Italian Navy does not need to create a public spectacle. The submarine beneath the waves does not need to reveal itself to the world. The system has already spoken. This is the reality of modern maritime power. Control is not always measured by who acts the loudest. Sometimes it is measured by who can see the entire board before the other side even understands the game has changed. While this scenario is a fictional strategic simulation, the lesson behind it is very real. 21st century naval dominance is no longer just about ships, missiles, or aircraft. It is about networks. It is about sensors. It is about allies sharing data fast enough to remove uncertainty before uncertainty becomes danger. The U.S. Navy does not only train against targets, it trains against patterns, deception, timing, digital noise, seabed movement, and the gray areas where modern rivals try to operate without crossing obvious lines. That is what makes the response so effective. Moscow's plan depends on hesitation. NATO's strength is integration. One Allied aircraft sees from above, one Italian frigate pressures the surface, one American submarine controls the deep. Underwater drones map the cable route. Special forces remove the hidden device. Combat systems compare every signal, every vibration, every false track, and every movement until the truth becomes impossible to hide. By 700, the silent victory is complete. The Yaz begins moving away from the sensitive zone, its false identity no longer useful. The intelligence vessel pulls back. The hidden submarine withdraws from the area after losing its advantage. The device meant to quietly attach itself to Europe's underwater communications route is gone. No massive confrontation, no dramatic public announcement, no global crisis, just a carefully managed defeat of a gray zone operation before most of the world even wakes up. Moscow came to Sardinia to test the fence. Instead, it discovered the fence was alive, connected, and already closing around the operation from every side. And that is what makes this moment so important. In the old world, power was often shown through open confrontation. In the modern world, the strongest response may be the one that prevents the confrontation from happening at all. The USS Carney, the P-8 Poseidon, the USS Montana, the Italian frigate Virginio Fasan, and the silent teams below the surface all played different roles in one coordinated answer. The message was simple. You can hide your signal. You can fake your location. You can use a civilian-looking ship as cover. You can fill the screen with digital ghosts. You can place a submarine under the noise of a tanker. You can send a device into the dark and hope no one is watching. But if the Allied network is already listening, already mapping, already comparing, and already moving, then the operation is over before it ever becomes visible. That is the new standard at sea. Not chaos, not panic, not uncontrolled escalation, precision, patience, and total awareness. By the time the sun rises over the Mediterranean, the water looks calm again. Civilian ships continue moving across the horizon. Public tracking systems slowly correct themselves. The world sees almost nothing. But beneath that calm surface, a full strategic contest has already been decided. The Yaz leaves with its cover compromised. The Russian intelligence ship leaves with its electronic methods exposed. The hidden submarine leaves knowing it was tracked in the one place it believed it could disappear. And NATO remains exactly where it was before the standoff began. Watching, listening, ready. So what do you think? Was the USS Carney right to rely on controlled, non-lethal pressure instead of a more forceful response? Or was Moscow's move serious enough that the Allies should have answered with something stronger? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more high-stakes strategic scenarios like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe. The sensors are active, the board is moving, and the next mission is already waiting beyond the horizon. At 5:30, the operation shifts from the surface and the digital battle space down to the seafloor. While Russian commanders are still trying to manage the electronic confusion above, their deeper objective begins to unfold. From beneath the intelligence vessel, a specialized underwater device is released into the darkness. Its mission is not loud or dramatic. It is surgical. The device is designed to attach itself to the fiber optic route and quietly extract sensitive data moving through Europe's digital infrastructure. This is the real purpose of the operation. Not a chase, not a show of force, not a simple maritime provocation, a silent attempt to reach into the nervous system of the West. 200 meters below the surface, in freezing darkness, Moscow believes it has found the perfect place to work unseen. But the Allies have already turned the seabed into a monitored battle space. U.S. Navy autonomous underwater systems and multi-static sonar create a live 3D image of the device. That data is passed to Italian Comsubin Special Forces, who approach in near-total darkness from a quiet mini-sub. Their mission is not to fight. Their mission is to remove the device without damaging the cable. The margin for error is almost non-existent. One wrong movement could harm the fiber optic route. One careless vibration could turn a secret operation into a continental communications emergency. The divers are working in a world where millimeters matter, and where the stakes are measured not in one ship or one patrol, but in the stability of Europe's digital infrastructure. They do not use bright lights. That would risk alerting sensors from the Russian vessel above. Instead, they are guided by ultrasonic mapping and a real-time data feed from the U.S. Navy's monitoring network. In the darkness, the divers see through sound. They move carefully around the device, studying its clamps, its wiring, and its internal safeguards. The U.S.